The long-awaited return of American Horror Story, Delicate, has finally here. Yes, I'm also in disbelief. I'll admit it. The return of the show nearly went unnoticed by me, and it's been 5 months since the 5th episode aired, all because the marketing for it wasn't very good. And yet, here we are again with Emma Roberts as Anna, who, while pregnant, must cope with a plethora of supernatural events. The second portion gets off to a violent start with not one but 2 fatalities in this first episode, and I'm okay with that. Now that we have that out of the way, let's dive into the episode and analyze it thoroughly. Episode 6 of American Horror Story, Delicate, has its conclusion described here. This video contains spoilers, just so you are aware. Can you tell me what became of Dexter's mom? After Dex learns that his mother will not be attending the scheduled launch party, the episode ends with him visiting her house. We last saw Dex's mom in the prior episode, when she was having a conversation with Miss Preacher, and she did her best to forewarn her of the peril she believed her family faced. You may recall from episode 5, airing a few months earlier, that Mrs. Preacher said how the Cable of Witches were enraged with Dexter for convincing his ex-wife Adeline, one of their most devoted competitors, to leave them. She perished in the fire because of this. They wanted retribution, so they did that. But the fact that his mother passed away suggests that vengeance may still be a thought in their minds. It appeared as though Dexter's mom had taken her own life when she was discovered in the bathtub of her house. I attempted to warn you, nevertheless, was written on the mirror. We can examine the possible suspects, even though this doesn't reveal who it could be. The first one is the Witch's Cable. Reportedly, their goal was to exact revenge on Dexter, and this could be their direct method of doing so, kicking him in the nuts. And the second one is the dad of Dexter. We know that Dexter's mother was suing his father in court, and that Dexter refused to testify against him. When they were talking about her plans to take him to court in episode 5, his mum said, "What harm can it cause?" Well, it's clear now that she has passed away. I must say, it does seem somewhat fishy. Last but not least, Miss Preacher is the prime suspect. Despite her seeming concern for Dexter's mom, she was the one who warned her in the 5th episode. In some way, it does relate to the last message on the wall. Even while this is the most remote possibility of a suspect, it is certainly not ruled out. Does anyone else's mirror have a message? The witches that appear in the program are closely associated with Anna, so I believe they are to blame for Dexter's mother's death right now, as she did in the first episode. This is the first scene. Episode 5's flashback showed Miss Preacher making her deal and giving up her baby. Although this episode took place in 1988, a full year later. Margaret returned home with her newborn and had to take care of her while her husband, Mr. Alcott, remained on the sidelines and didn't do much. In addition to his terrible treatment of his wife, he was absent when his child needed him, claimed he didn't yet feel like a dad, and failed to listen when she cried out for help. The idea that women should put their aspirations on hold to care for children and be mothers while men pursued their careers and had fun was something that Siobhan and Dana touched on when talking about the role that men expected them to play in society. Mr. Alcott's preoccupation with the chances he wanted to create for himself, rather than the family he had just welcomed into the world, was on full display as he read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People while Margaret cared for the newborn. When Margaret passed away from the night aneurysm, and we learned that the baby we were looking at was actually Anna, things started to heat up in this part. Even though it's over 30 years later, Nicolette still looked the same when she came at the hospital. She seized Anna's hand and began to sing the lullaby Rock-a-Bye Baby, which has a dark history and a disturbing meaning. Originally composed in 1688, the lyrics of this lullaby were interpreted as a death wish for King James Yi's kid, with a widespread belief that he should pass away so that a Protestant monarch could take his place. According to the plot of the play, Ma was singing it to Anna before she passed away and Nicolette took her up, and she sung it to her as well. The sentence, "Down will come Anna cradle and all," was substituted with "Down will come baby cradle and all by her." This demonstrates that their interest in Anna dates back to when she was a very little baby. Thus, it is not as directly related to Dexter and Dateline as we had once assumed. She's always been heading in this direction, and now is the perfect moment for them to finally tie the knot. The doll's significance: more dolls were seen surrounding Anna in this episode. Throughout the first half of the season, these dolls, which resembled voodoo dolls, appeared. Some of them had nails or crosses on the belly, and when they showed up, Anna would start to feel pains or think she was going to lose the baby. Something that doesn't bode well for Anna's future is the addition of 2 dolls to the collection in this episode. One of them has a mark on its back and the other has broken legs. She pinned the spot on her Maps app where she found each of the dolls when she saw them. And along the way, the symbol of Satanism, a recurring subject in the show, was revealed. In addition to Anna's hallucinations of Sonia, Talia, Ivy, and Nicolette approaching her, this episode featured a speech. "Hail Satan" and similar expressions were essentially what they were saying when translated. Thus, it is clear that they are Satanists. These particular beings have maintained their connection to the dark entities by not aging during our whole encounters with them. Just like we witnessed with Miss Preacher, Bloody Mary, and her sister, we know that they can influence people's thoughts and even bring about physical difficulties. They clearly have complete control over Anna's mind because of the way she is hallucinating. I think not only do they want the baby, but I believe they also want to recruit Anna now. In my opinion, that is something that will ultimately come to pass. This episode brought Anna's mark to light more, and we also realized that Nicolette had the same mark. Therefore, they may desire Anna as much as they desire the evil child she is carrying. Yeah, I see. Anna's baby is definitely demonic, judging by those sharp nails and hands that pierced through her stomach. Several centuries ago, Mary had one that looked identical to this. Does she intend to have a demon child? Possibly yes. Finally, Anna's story: would you prioritize having a baby over winning an Oscar? That was the very question that was put towards Anna during episode 5, to which she responded with yes. After Babette passed away, it appeared in this episode that Anna was the one being touted as the Oscar winner. But with that out of the way, it seems like one of those sneaky deals could have just been struck. Just like what happened with Preacher when she wanted to be successful in the fashion industry. It cost her a baby and her happiness. She wanted to drop out of the Oscar race after having so many hallucinations at Dex's launch party, including seeing the same superfan she had when she won an award earlier in the season and what appeared to be a cable of witches. This was something which caused Siobhan to quite literally slap it out of her, and she went on to give a speech about how she shouldn't give up on her dream in order to have a baby, giving in to what the men wanted her to do. It was also here where we saw that Hamish was announced to be dead. He was threatening Siobhan and saying that he was going to go to the press and tell them everything about their secret relationship. But also the fact that the movie that was destined to go nowhere, and the fact that he was told to just put his name on it, direct it, and to not ask any questions about its origin. So that was something that he definitely shouldn't have done. Siobhan obviously killed him, there's no denying that. But what was interesting about it was that it was made out like he did it himself, just like what happened with Dex's mother. So there is actually a connection there in the approach which could provide more clarity over the death of Dex's mother. With Anna seeing a card that said, "You can't trust any of them," and then seeing Miss Preacher in the corner, it feels like we're now going to be seeing the two characters together. Preacher telling Anna about her past, everything that she went through, and the price that she had to pay for it. So I'm intrigued to see how it's all going to go down. My review of the episode. I thought this was a good way to launch the show back onto our screens. Don't get me wrong, it took me a while to get back up to speed with what was going on. But that's always going to happen after not being in the world for several months and having a mid-season break. What it did make me realize, though, was that I missed the world of American Horror Story. There's nothing else like it on screen, and granted, the show isn't as good as what it once was, but seeing the faces and getting the tone of the show back was a great way to spend 45 minutes. Emma Roberts is the real face of the show, and she's definitely the best performer in this season. She carries the role so well, and you feel the pain that she feels not only within her mind, but also physically too. I also think that Kim Kardashian has grown on me. I remember at the start thinking she was a bit like an NPC, but I feel as the episodes have gone on, she's grown into the role more. It does genuinely feel like there are so many different directions that this season could go in. But with only 3 episodes left, I feel the pacing is going to be rapidly increasing now, and it's something that I'm really looking forward to. So, there you have it, American Horror Story Delicate, Episode 6, Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos on American Horror Story Delicate, then click on the card in the top corner. I've covered every episode from the beginning, and will be continuing to do so until the end of the season. So head over to the channel to find the breakdowns. What did you think of this episode? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.